All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Seattle Sports Secrets. I'm Ryan Hanna with Tristan Pratt, and what an interesting time, interesting month since we've last done this. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of good stuff to talk about with the Seahawks and the draft, some interesting stuff with the Sounders going on, pretty exciting, and a very, very beleaguering road trip for the Mariners, and the Kraken season has officially come to a close. So, Tristan, what would you like to talk about first?
I think that let's start off with the big one, the Sounders, in my opinion. Let's start there. Last night, as of this recording, winning 3-0 against Pumas. I don't know where they're from or anything like that, because we are not soccer people by any
Yeah,
stretch
yeah,
of the imagination. But winning 3-0 to become CONCACAF champions, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
yeah.
It's, I believe,
The CCL,
CONCACAF.
yeah.
So, anyway, winning that, and I'm going to play a little trivia, Ryan. Who do you think was the last ML team to win that specific championship?
I don't know personally. I do know it's been about 20 years since a United States team has won that championship.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, a long time coming, but
It's
what
actually
do you think?
been longer than that. It's been longer than the M's playoff drought, even 22 years. The
Oh,
LA
really?
Galaxy won it last back in 2000. So it's
Wow.
and it's not a gimme championship. Like they're playing with, I believe it's Mexican type franchises and leagues from Mexico. So the
Right.
fact that the Sounders were able to become, I think, the third MLS franchise to win that specific cup, it's a pretty big deal. And we don't normally talk Sounders on here, but they are still as much of a part of Seattle sports as any other
For
franchise
sure.
that's behind me. So, yeah, massive congrats to the Sounders. We're proud of you guys.
And honestly, it just kind of caps off what has been like the most dominant run in Seattle. Like they get underrated a lot, but like they've been to the finals so much. They've been to the playoffs so much. It's just for a franchise that's, I mean, still fairly new. I mean, they came into existence in what, like 2009. So for
I
a
think it was
franchise
earlier than
that,
that. I think it was like 2006 or something like that. There was another iteration of the Sounders, I believe, before even that. Like, I think it was around the same time the Sonics were a thing, but I think
right?
that was a very quick thing, kind of like the
Yeah, I
Pilots.
thought I had seen like 2009, but anyway, like they're still in the grand scheme of things, they're still fairly new, and so kind of just to have that much success and kind of be a dynasty like they have and not get talked about, like good for them. Like they're the best. They're honestly the best team in Seattle. Like in their respective leagues. So good for
Yeah.
them for kind of setting up a model and
And
but yeah,
the other thing
yeah, this
about the
is a
Sounders,
great
too,
win
is
and just
that,
kind of capped off everything for them.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing about the Sounders, too, is that they were kind of that safety blanket that they had when the M's were in lockout and the Seahawks traded Russ and cut Bobby and the Kraken were in the middle of their inaugural season, which we will get to.
Yeah.
But when through all of that garbage stuff happening in the top echelon of teams, the Sounders were always there, kind of giving us a glimmer of hope, if that makes sense. And
Oh
just
yeah, for
get a
sure.
championship for that, it's cool. It's cool. And
Yeah. It's
y'all, we
nice for
always
them
want a
to
Seattle
get
team with the
rewarded.
championship, regardless of the sport. So, again, massive congrats to the Sounders. They earned this, and hopefully, as the MLS gets bigger, so do the Sounders.
Yeah. And kind of transferring off of that, like speaking of new teams and building out models, like the Sounders chose to win right away, and they had like I saw Gabe Dang. We had him on a couple of weeks ago. He tweeted out this thread that like Sounders ownership has had a fear of failure per se, of just kind of not accepting anything less than immediate success and making moves accordingly. And that's been really good to see for a new franchise. But taking that into now the first inaugural season for the Kraken, it's just kind of a disappointment to see that Ron Frank, the way this season has gone, they clearly didn't opt for that. They opted for the long game, and it just seems like that's a new trend among new franchises. Obviously, I mean Vegas is the exception here, but um, it just is a bummer when you have a team like the Sounders who comes in and immediately tears everything up, and then you get a team like the Kraken who come in and say, you know what, we're not worrying about winning right away. We're not worried about setting a gold standard right away. We're building for the long haul.
Yeah, and honestly, I kind of get the approach. And even with Vegas, when they were an expansion team, everyone said, "Oh, they're going for a full-on rebuild, kind of build it up long term with the farm system." And then their expansion season happened, and everyone was like, "Oh, we screwed up in that draft." And so I think GMs learned from that, and I think we kind of set our expectations a little too high with the Kraken. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
for sure, for sure.
Yes, the Sounders did well when they kind of came out of the gate swinging, but if you look at teams like the Mariners or the Seahawks or the even the Sonics, like they did not start out good. Even they were easily like basement dwellers at the start of their existences. So again, these things take time. I'm not too concerned. It's their first season. I still have faith in Francis, maybe a little less in Hackstall, but yeah, I mean they have pieces. Obviously, Matty Beniers ended the year on a tear, just absolutely ridiculous play from him, almost a point per game. I think he missed one game. I think he had one game without a point in the last few games that he
Yeah,
played,
something like that.
which is just stupendous.
Yeah,
And
I mean, there are
they
some
also have
pieces.
guys like Yanni Gord and Jared McCann and not Lauzon, Larson and Wenberg.
Yep.
Those are guys you can build a franchise around. To add to that, you have probably a top 3 pick in the draft, top 5 bare at worst case scenario. That's a lot of capital the Kraken can play with. And
Right.
I don't know who they address in the draft. Haven't looked too much into it, but the draft lottery, May 10th, it's about a week away.
Yep.
So
Yeah, something
we'll
like that.
see
Yeah.
where they pick. Hopefully I'd lose my mind if we got Shane Wright, dude.
Yeah.
If we got somehow
That would
number
be
one
very
overall and
good.
got Shane Wright,
Good for the
him and Matty
organization.
Beniers would just be unfair.
Yeah.
That would be our version of McDavid and Draisaitl. Let's be honest.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, that's a lot of pressure, but I mean, I could definitely see the upside there. And I mean, you compared it to the Seahawks and the Mariners and the Sonics and all that, but like, yeah, that's a good point that expansion teams always typically struggle like this, but also that was a different era back then, and there were different like methods of adding and subtracting and building out rosters back then versus there are now. There's obviously so much more information and ways to know and ways to evaluate players and scouting and all that. So I think there were a lot more opportunities for the Kraken to do well out of the gate, but it's just kind of a bummer to see that they didn't take it. But that said, like you talked about, there are still some pieces here, and there is still an opportunity to grow and get better and eventually get very good.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, it doesn't really matter what the approach is. They will be good at one point or another. We don't know when that is, but I mean, heck, it took the Mariners what, 20 years before they made the playoffs? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
they the bar is set pretty low for the Kraken to be higher than that. So, we're not expecting them to be perfect out the gate. We are just expecting them to be somewhat good somewhere down the road and hopefully, heck, win us a Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's pretty good for the Kraken. So moving on to the actually pretty good stuff. The Seahawks draft, the NFL draft was over, was
I
it
think it was
now?
like a week ago, wasn't it?
Week ago now, yeah.
Man, how time flies, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm pretty happy with what the Seahawks came away from this draft with. What are your thoughts?
Okay. I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to go through each pick that the Seahawks made individually and then kind of give an overall
All
consensus.
right.
So, I think right out the gate I'm going to say it right out of the gate. I thought we would screw this up. I really did. I had no faith in Keller Schneider whatsoever. But then at pick 9, the Seahawks picked Charles Cross, and I screamed so loud that I'm confident the entire block heard me when this pick. This was an absolute slam dunk pick. When you look at Charles Cross, 6'5", 307, that's a little undersized for an NFL lineman. 4.95 40-yard dash, that's pretty good actually, all things considered. The main thing that stands out about him is he is extremely, and I mean extremely good at pass protection. Hey, that's something the Seahawks have needed for how
Yeah.
long now?
And now they
But
get it after Russell Wilson leaves.
yeah, I've seen that meme, but hey, better late than never, right?
Yeah,
But
that's true.
here's a stat for you to really hit this point home. In 700 snaps over 2 years that he played, which that's the big draw on him is the lack of experience. I don't think it'll be that big of an issue. But in 700 snaps, in a very pass-heavy offense, mind you, and if you don't understand why this is pass-heavy, this is the Mike Leach offense. For those of you that watch college in like Huskies and Cougars football, you will know exactly how pass-heavy I'm talking about when I say the name Mike Leach. But in that kind of air raid offense, he allowed a grand total of 2 sacks. 2. Last year, didn't allow a single quarterback pressure. Let that sink in for a moment.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
This
That is
kid
pretty good.
didn't even let anybody come near the quarterback last year. And keep in mind, this isn't like ACC or some weak division. This is the SEC we're talking about. This is arguably the toughest, easily the toughest SEC conference in all of college football. So the fact that he's not even allowing pressures to high picks like Trayvon Walker, that's massive. And
Yeah.
definitely, I mean, that's basically unheard of at this point. And the other real big knock on him, outside of the lack of experience, which I don't think should be that big of an issue, is his run blocking is considered average, which I don't really see. I mean, you look at his tape and he's pretty good, all things considered, considering the fact that he is, again, in a pass heavy offense and didn't really get the opportunity to show his run blocking prowess. But he does have that ability. He has great hands. He rarely gets beat. This is a slam dunk pick. He fell to them. Massive shout outs to Atlanta for taking Drake London at 8. But he fell to us. They would have been stupid not to pick him. That was a slam dunk pick. And then we moved to day 2.
Yeah, so yeah, that'd be nice to get some protection there for Drew Lock or Geno Smith or whoever
I'll probably say
they
it's Geno
decide
Smith.
to go with
I'll
for the
probably
rest
say
of
it's
the
Geno
season.
Smith who wins that
Yeah,
job. But with their second pick, number 40 overall, they go defense and select Boye Mafe out of Minnesota. He is a linebacker, though I probably see him more as a hybrid outside linebacker in a 3-4 or an edge in a 4-3. So, again, the thing with Mafe, he is really raw and he can get to the quarterback. But again, since he's raw, he does need a little bit of technical development, but I think he will pair with Daryl Taylor perfectly. I think he has a higher floor, a little bit of a lower ceiling than David Ojabo, who is also available there. But overall, I think this is a great pick. I think this was the right pick because he will need to be a starter, and I think he will pair with Daryl Taylor really, really, really well. So yeah,
yeah,
Boye Mafe, another good pick. Ran a 4.53 40, which is really good.
yeah.
Then
Oh, is this
here's
the
the
Ken Walker pick?
here's the controversial pick of the draft. Ken Walker, running back out of Michigan State. Now, a lot of people, including myself, were like, why are we taking a running back in the second round? But the more you look into it, the more and more it makes sense. Kenneth Walker, I don't think there's any questioning that he is one of, if not the best running back in this draft. Hands down. I mean, he ran a 4.38. He's an absolute freak. He has that home run play ability that Seattle loves to use. He kind of reminds me a lot of Aaron Jones in the fact that he's not afraid to put his head down and power through for a couple yards, but he much prefers to be a little more elusive. 5'9", 211. I mean, he's easily one of the best running backs in this draft. But the thing that makes the sense is look at our running back room right now. Chris Carson, we have no idea what's happening with him. From what I've heard in the rumor
Right.
mill, is that it is not looking good for Carson right now. Penny, we don't know if he's going to stay healthy, and even if he does, he's on a 1-year deal, so
Yep.
he's not a long-term fix. And in fact, we only have one other running back outside of Ken Walker right now who will be under contract outside of this next year. Take a guess as to who that is.
I don't remember off the top of my head. Who are we looking at?
The only Seahawks running back under contract for outside of this upcoming season is DJ Dallas. That is it. Travis Homer on an
Oh,
expiring deal. Alex Collins on an expiring deal. We talked about Penny. Carson's even on an expiring deal. So do you really trust your running backs to be DJ Dallas and DJ Dallas?
right,
I
right.
don't. So again, people are going to say, oh, Pete Carroll wants to get back to the run game. And that's kind of true here. But at the same time, the Seahawks running back room next year would have looked like the Packers wide receiver room right now,
Right,
where they would have had to have spent a top pick in an honestly running back weak class next year. So
right.
Walker pick to me, I didn't agree with it at first, but the more you look into it, it makes sense. They got best player available at a position of desperate, desperate need.
Yeah. And honestly, like that's kind of the theme with this whole draft is like getting players you need, like filling positions of need with talented players. And that's what you want to that's what we want to see as fans. And honestly, it's really, really great draft for Seattle. So uh
We haven't even gotten to the best parts of this draft, in my opinion. No, I haven't even
yeah.
gotten to the best parts
Well,
because we moved to the third round,
I think we're
right?
running on some time here, so I'm gonna kind of speed things up a
I'm
little
gonna,
bit.
I'm gonna speed it up. I mean, the next 5 picks after this are pretty much the same kind of thing.
Yeah, Just like list them
Let's
off.
talk briefly about Abraham Lucas and Bragg for a little bit, because in our mock we actually mocked Abraham Lucas to the Seahawks in, I believe, the second round. So the fact that we
Yeah.
got him at the third, the value right there is great. Obviously,
Yep.
again, a bit less in terms of the run blocking. He has more to do there. But he's a great pass protector, and he'll probably fit in right tackle and compete with Jake Curhan. If not, he can probably go to guard, where he can. Who knows what happens with Gabe Jackson, or heck, if Damian Lewis doesn't pan out, we can fit Abraham Lucas in there, and we can do him like that. So this is definitely more of a flux pick. I don't know exactly where we're going to fit him, but we'll probably fit him on the right side of that line, because that's where it kind of needs the help a
Yep.
little bit more, because your left side, you got the left tackle covered. Charles Cross, boom, day one starter, easy. So Lucas, it's going to be between Lucas and Curhan in my mind for right tackle, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing if you have two good right tackles there. So Abraham Lucas, again, we really liked him in the second round. We got him in the third. I'm really happy with that pick. Now,
Yeah.
these next two kind of are in the same boat. Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen. They're two basically fourth rounders, because we had the second pick in the fifth round that we used on Woolen, and then an early pick we used on Kobe Bryant. Both of these
Okay.
guys,
I gotta say something here. I can't believe they took a kid named Kobe Bryant. That's just funny. See,
I
that's
think he,
just funny.
I think he is obliged to wear either 8 or 23 in his honor. Honestly,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
late great Kobe Bryant's honor, I think he has to now. I
Yeah.
think he
Oh, for
absolutely has to.
sure. For sure.
And both of these guys, Bryant and Tariq Woolen, have the ability to be superstars. I think we got highway robbery with Tariq Woolen in the fifth. He is. You want a Richard Sherman clone? Here's your guy. Wide receiver, turned corner, just like Richard Sherman. 6'4", 205, with a 34-inch wingspan, which sounds a lot like Richard Sherman, and ran a 4.26 40-yard dash. Who
That's
builds humans
ridiculous.
like that?
Yeah.
And Kobe Bryant is a little less impressive, but at the same time, he is a bit more of that modern type DJ Reed-esque corner.
Yeah.
He has a little Kobe Bryant has a little bit of trouble, covering deep threats, but he was also getting targeted a lot more, because the guy across from him was Sauce Gardner, who went fourth overall to the Jets. So take for that what you will. I think
Yeah.
both of these guys are corners that Pete Carroll is going to have a lot of fun around. That corner room is stacked again, and hopefully it gets a little younger with these two picks. I love the
Right.
Woolen pick. I like the Bryant pick. I think those were both perfect for them. Then we get Tyreek Smith. I think this was a pure depth move, which in the later half of the fifth round, that's kind of what you're looking for, in all honesty. So, I mean, there's not really much. Again, he's super, super, super raw. He doesn't really have much athletic talent, but he is very trained, and he can. And his technique, his unorthodox technique, does work. So we'll see what he turns into. And then the last two guys, Bo Melton, Derek Young, I'll just lump them together. They're both seventh round receivers. I like Melton. I think that was a steal. I know the Packers really wanted him in, I think it was the fifth, as a receiver. So the fact that we got him at the seventh is really good value there. Derek Young, don't
Yep.
really know too much about him, but both of those guys probably either special teams or practice squad people. I think Melton specifically goes special teams. But yeah, that's the Seahawks picks. That's the draft class of 2022. Overall, people online have been grading it as a B plus or an A minus, and I agree. I think it is a 90%, which can fall either or. I think the only real pick that doesn't make sense would be maybe the Tyreek Smith pick. The Kenneth Walker pick, again, I
Didn't
like
make
it to
sense
an
at first,
extent.
but now it kind of does.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense the more you look into the RB situation we
Yep.
have. And the fact that we got a really good player at a position in need, like we could have the best running back we've seen since Thomas Rawls, if you remember him.
Right. Right. And that's a oh shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say, but like, oh yeah. Is that like a lot of these guys that they got, especially in the later rounds, are guys that like you're getting undervalue. So like you mentioned with the Packers and looking at that fifth round pick, and then the Seahawks ended up taking him in the seventh. Like they had multiple guys like that, and you can get like steals like that. That's really beneficial, especially long term, to get that value there, especially really in the later picks.
And the only real other knock I've seen on the Seahawks draft is that they didn't take a quarterback, which to me, I'm happy with that. I'm actually enthralled that we didn't take a QB. Wait
Yeah,
until next year or trade for a guy like Gardner Minshew and don't use like a high end draft pick because the Eagles
yeah,
have Carson Strong as a UDFA. So they have three quarterbacks that should be really good. And heck, we could probably take Minshew off their hands for a seventh at this point, considering how
yeah,
low their QB room is. And he would
exactly.
be a
And
day
this
one
and this
starter
was
here.
not the year to take a quarterback in the draft.
Yes, it was. I mean, most of them fell to the third round anyway. Like the only one that was taken outside of the third round was Kenny Pickett when he went 20th overall to the Steelers, which I mean, it made sense for them. They needed a replacement for Big Ben. But
Yeah,
yeah, I totally agree with not taking a quarterback in the draft. I think we signed a UDFA. I don't know who. It wasn't like a big name or anything. So
right. All right. Well, that's pretty good on the
so
Seahawks.
I'd
I think we're
yeah,
doing pretty
I'd
good.
give that grade. That was a really good draft.
Yeah,
And
I
one
agree. I
one
agree.
that the
I can't
Hawks
wait
really
to
couldn't
see.
afford to screw up. They couldn't afford to screw that one up. And
Yeah. Oh
thankfully they did.
yeah, for sure. And I can't wait to see how these guys do this year. It should be pretty exciting, and hopefully
I
the
can't wait
Seahawks
to
are a
see
pretty fun
Kenneth
team.
Walker this year.
What was that? Sorry.
I can't wait to see Walker this year. That should be
Yeah, me
really.
too. That should be really fun. Yeah, yeah. I think the Seahawks as a team, like they look pretty fun this year. I don't know how competitive they'll be, but they
Who
uh they
cares?
they
Who
uh, look
cares?
pretty
We
good.
don't expect them to make the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the last little topic here, the obviously the least fun thing to talk about, but here we are. So tonight, the Mariners return home for another homestand. I'm pulling it up right now. I believe
I
it
believe
is
it's
like
four
six,
against Tampa and three against the Phillies, if
seven.
I'm not
Yep,
mistaken.
yep, that's right. Four against Tampa starting tonight. And they are coming off of an absolutely abysmal 2-7 road trip, which saw them get swept in Houston and nearly get swept in Tampa Bay and Miami. Now, the big culprit here, obviously, is the offense. There has, outside of Eugenio Suarez's two-run shot yesterday, they had 24 consecutive scoreless innings at the plate. Now, that I don't care who you are, whether you're the Dodgers or the Orioles, that is flat out unacceptable. It cannot be, and they have to be better. And obviously, there's a little bit of that. A little bit of that is coming with the umpire controversy and some of the awful calls and awful performances behind the plate. But at the same time, the bats have to get better. And to be quite honest with you, I think they will.
Yeah,
But I'm curious what you think.
in Miami, we did see J Rod hit his first home run. Great for the kid, and that thing was absolutely crushed
Yeah, that
too.
was pretty exciting.
So that was very fun. I know you and I both lost our minds over that. That was
Yep.
quite well worth the wait, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
he started to come into his own. But Ty France started to cool off. That's a little to be expected. JP Crawford surprisingly hasn't cooled off too much from his
He's still going
outstanding.
strong. Yeah, and there are
So
some contributors here. There are some
like
contributors here
this was the
that
same problem that the M's had last year. They can only have like two guys carry the bats at a time. Like
right. Well, I mean, even if you look at you look at this lineup right now, I think the biggest thing with it is that it's the most unhealthy lineup that we're going to see all year. It
yeah,
is, I think, right now, because this team is not healthy. Mitch Haniger got activated off the COVID list for one game in Miami and then immediately fouled a ball off his leg and ended up with a grade 2 high ankle strain. And so now he could be out for anywhere from 2 weeks to a month. I mean, there was some good news on Mr. Kyle Lewis front here. He made his AAA rehab debut, and man,
absolutely
he's seeing the
crushed it too.
ball. He is seeing the ball right now. So, I mean, hopefully, speedy recovery. Praying for a speedy recovery for him. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at probably the most unhealthy lineup, and that's a testament to the way this roster has been built and the outfield depth that this team has. But yeah, I mean, the struggles, they're not healthy, and a lot of the guys are starting to cool off all at the same time. And so now it's culminating in a road trip, right? Like that. And now you have to kind of re-spark the engine to get going again in this homestand.
Yeah, and I think Lewis coming back, hopefully during this series against Tampa, will help out at least a little bit with that. But yeah, even without Haniger getting that ankle sprain is a big loss. We don't because it's like we can't see Mitch Haniger and Kyle Lewis on the field at the same time. It seems like for a full year, it's
Yeah.
so infuriating. Like either one's hurt or the other's hurt. It's
Or in
awful. I
this
hate
case, they're
it.
both hurt.
Or they're both hurt, and that's even worse. And even then, Evan White is still out and will probably be out for a while. So we
He'll be
don't even
out.
have depth
He's not
there.
coming back anytime soon. We
Yeah.
know
So
that. We
we
know
don't
that
even have
much.
depth there. So I mean, the other real thing to me is that like Scott's playing with the lineup too much, in my opinion. Like, why is Adam Frazier in left field or DHing? Like, don't put Toro at second. Just keep at Frazier there and call it good. You can put Toro at third. I'm fine with Toro at third. Just stop putting him at second, please.
I think that's another thing too, is I kind of disagree there. I don't think Scott Service is playing with the lineup enough, because if you know a certain lineup is not working, then why are you continuing to run it out 3, 4, 5 days in a row?
That's a fair
JP
point.
Crawford is like blazing hot right now, and Adam Frazier is not, like, really not.
Yeah, I don't know why he
So
Crawford isn't hitting leadoff right now.
yeah, exactly. So why aren't we shaking up the lineup to where Crawford's hitting leadoff? Maybe France gets bumped down a little bit to the 3, 4 hole. Suarez bumps down. Guys that are hitting come up. I mean, I texted you this, but like, I think moving Julio up the lineup, they should absolutely entertain that idea, because
Yeah,
he's starting to heat up. He's showing the
I
plate
agree.
discipline. We know he has the power and the speed now to hit in the top of the lineup. So I think
Yeah.
he's absolutely capable of
Nine
hitting
for
two
nine
or
in
three.
stolen bases for Julio. Who saw that one coming at the start of the year, dude?
Julio saw it coming. None of us
Julio did
though.
see it,
But yeah,
but
I
like
mean,
that's he's
the
leading the
speed, the
league in
power that we
stolen
saw in
bases.
Miami. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He's leading the league in stolen bases and still has the power to crush one 450 in Miami. Like
Yeah. Yes,
it's
exactly. So
not that's not human.
yeah, that's why I like his ability to. I think he should be hitting higher in the lineup, at least right now.
I agree.
While this lineup is struggling, Julio should be hitting higher, and then maybe as some of the guys Lewis and Haniger start to get back and really make this a deep lineup, then you can start kind of giving Julio some protection, moving him back down. But honestly, over his career, Julio will be in the top 3 of the order for his career long term for the Mariners.
Easily.
But yeah, I think just shaking up the lineup before tonight's game and before the homestand, I think that's critical to kind of get back on track and stop the skid where it's at. Because man, like May is going to be an absolutely brutal schedule,
You
and
thought
they
you
gotta
thought
figure
that
something out.
that 2-7 road trip was bad. The next road trip's even worse because we go to New York,
3 at the Mets, 3 at the Blue
3 at the
Jays,
Blue
and
Jays, and
4
3
at
at
the
the
Red
Red
Sox.
Sox. Those are 3 playoff contenders easily. Heck, probably even World Series contenders if you
Mets
want to
and
go
Blue
that
Jays,
far.
yeah, 2 World Series contenders. So yeah,
So,
I mean they have got to figure it out, and honestly,
and
that
not only
starts
that,
with
they
the
have to figure it out
lineup.
quick. This team needs Kyle Lewis back ASAP. They really do.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you there, but at the same time, like if we want him back, but we need to not rush him back
This is
because
true.
you want him back, but you also want him to be healthy and productive, which I think is with Julio kind of taking over center field and playing really great center field defense. I think that will open the door to Lewis playing healthy, or Lewis being more healthy, because that'll kind of relegate him to a DH with some left field role. And I think that'll
Which I think
be,
him sharing left field with Jesse Winker is the right call.
yeah,
I
and
definitely.
that'll allow him to stay healthy because he's not running around with that troublesome knee. So like DHing most of the time with a little bit of left field kind of mixed in as the season goes along will be most optimal for Kyle Lewis. And I mean, man, he can absolutely change your lineup with his bat. We've talked about it before on the show. Lewis really changes your lineup, and having him in there every day hitting in a DH left field role, like that really makes your lineup more dynamic and makes your lineup deeper and makes it more dangerous. And it gives you a better shot against some of these teams like Toronto and Boston and the Mets. And so like getting this team healthy, I think is the biggest key. And it's why I'm bullish. Like Julio hasn't even is only scratching the surface of his potential. Like when he gets rolling down the stretch of the season, we're gonna see the rookie of the year candidate that he is. And so I mean, like there is still room for this offense to be very good this year.
Absolutely.
But it may, even though it doesn't seem like it right now.
Yeah, and I think with the M's offense specifically, it's just a combination of bad luck and injuries. Because
Yeah,
Jesse Winker, easily the most unlucky hitter in baseball. I don't think there's
agreed.
anyone arguing that.
Yeah, and to be fair though, he is starting to hit. He is starting to heat up. He's starting to get more balls landing, which is good. And I mean, you throw him into left field with Kyle Lewis, and I mean that's a pretty nice combination out there. And then not going past just the offense, I think kind of another thing that's going under the radar with this road trip is the starting pitching. Like Marco and Flexen specifically have not been terrible by any stretch of imagination. They have more than held their own against Houston, Tampa Bay, and Miami.
They just haven't had run support.
Exactly. And so like they're absolutely grinding out effort, but getting no help for it. And so that's kind of flown under the radar, at least from what I've seen with the fans.
Yeah. Also, we're not even talking about the fact that Logan Gilbert is pitching on a completely different planet right now.
Yeah, I mean, AL pitcher of the month. He's for a
Yeah,
reason.
and well deserved too. He had a .4 ERA in April. That's ridiculous. He's
He's
allowed
the
2
current
earned
MLB
runs this
ERA
year, both
leader.
of them solo homers.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
Gilbert is starting to come into that Cy Young potential pitcher, which is
I mean,
really
yeah, we could
exciting.
see that this year. If he keeps this up, it'll be him and Verlander for the Cy Young.
Yep.
Easily, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Which,
mean, and
by the
Robbie
way,
Ray, like
can we
once
also
Robbie,
talk about how BS it is that the Astros got to use the top of their rotation while we were on the bottom of ours? Like,
yeah,
can we talk about that? Like
yeah.
how
Some of
that's
the pitching
unfair?
matchups
Like Brash versus
over
Verlander is
the
just
road
stupid.
trip have been less than ideal, at least from a Mariners standpoint.
Yeah, I mean Ray has looked good. I mean, I don't think he was as good as he was last year, but we kind of expected it that because he was
Yeah.
just ridiculous last year.
Right.
Logan Gilbert's been far better than we expected this early. Flexen and Marco, like you said, have been solid. They've been great. Again,
But
they
with
haven't
no
had any
help.
run support, which is the problem.
And that was the
And
thing that down
and that was
Felix.
even with in Miami. Marco had a massive scare when he got hit on, I think it was the elbow or something like
Yeah,
that.
Tampa Bay, and it
Yeah, in
was
Tampa, and he got
the
taken out
wrist.
of the first inning. Like that was
Yeah,
a huge scare because I was like, who are we going to get to replace Marco if he goes down? I
exactly.
mean, because Brash is, let's face it, Brash is struggling right now.
Yeah, and I think a move. Honestly, I think a move to either AAA or the bullpen would really benefit him
I think a
so
move to
much.
AAA is far more likely, in all honesty,
Yeah,
because you have George Kirby. I think he
yeah, who
gets the
has
call
far
Brash
better
is
control.
struggling.
Yeah, I think we'll see. Kirby very soon here, and I mean,
Either Kirby or Stout. I think gets a
honestly,
call.
it's probably still
Probably
Kirby.
Kirby, but I
Yeah,
mean, I wouldn't count Levi Stout out either.
yeah, I agree. He's pitching well too. So yeah, I mean,
God, I love that the Mariners farm system is so deep that we can just have these types of conversations and
yeah,
it's not that big a deal.
I mean, credit to Dipoto, and I think we'll save this for another show, but we've got the Mariners have their own draft coming up here
Oh
soon,
yeah.
and
20,
so
21st pick, I think, right?
yeah, at 21
When was the
there's
last time we had a
numerous,
pick at the 20s?
yeah, there's numerous ways they could go with that, but we'll save that for another show and deep dive into some of the prospects there. But yeah, I think that's mostly pretty much everything I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
You?
I mean, there's a Sonic story that could potentially turn into something, but we can save that for next episode. We're already late on that anyway, so who
Yeah.
cares?
All right. Well, once again, you're listening to Seattle Sports Secrets. I'm Ryan Hanna with Tristan Pratt. Thank you all for listening if you made it this far. And yeah, we'll see you on the next episode. So see you later.